So welcome to today's webinar on Dynamics Field Service. Field Service is one of the latest, most exciting new products from Microsoft in the Dynamics family. I'm Jim Townsend at InfoStrat, and joining me from Microsoft is Pierre Holsebus. Pierre, can you say hello?
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Pierre Holsebus with Microsoft. I'm a black belt in the field service area for Microsoft.
It's a real pleasure. We also have Matt Ritter from Microsoft. He'll be staying with us all the way through the questions and answers.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do it. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm Matt Ritter. I'm a Dynamics Field Service black belt as well. With Microsoft, I came over in the acquisition of Field 1, which was about a year ago, and I had been with Field 1 for about 8 years before that. So there's very little that I haven't seen personally relative to field service. Couldn't be more pleased to be here today with Jim and the InfoStrat team, who, among other things, are field service specialists and have a long history of helping customers with field service needs. So again, thank you very much for having us, Jim.
It's a real pleasure, Matt. Peter has volunteered to do a demonstration for us, and we'll take a look at all the elements that make up the field service solution. I just want to step back and portray the bigger picture. Microsoft offers a comprehensive platform for its customers, and that includes many different line of business solutions. In Dynamics and in CRM in particular, there are a large number of scenarios where Microsoft offers the platform and the tools. And you may have heard about people at Microsoft talking about XRM instead of CRM, where the X stands for whatever it is that you need to track. The idea for several years has been to build a vertical solution on top of the Dynamics platform. And I think that field service is one of the most perfect examples of this. Field 1 was a company devoted to building out a comprehensive field service product built on top of that Microsoft stack. And so when Microsoft acquired them, essentially they bought one of the best XRM applications that was out there. And it's part of this broader family of things, including live chat, customer service agents. Project Service is another new Microsoft product that we're going to be covering in a different webinar. It's part of a larger strategy that Microsoft has, even embracing the Internet of Things and gathering data from devices of all different types, real-time performance information that comes from devices. Could even be roads or cars or mobile devices that people are carrying around in the field. So it's part of a broader context. What we're going to take a look at today is what field service itself does. What does it bring to Dynamics CRM? There are a number of scenarios where customers need to go out in the field and deliver services. This is true throughout government. Field service can be broken into really three larger areas. The first part, scheduling, the idea of having a comprehensive set of resources that you're tracking, people, vehicles, capabilities, being able to determine the best way to allocate those resources to schedule them so that they can make it from one stop to another throughout the day. Field service includes routing algorithms and mapping, and it has a dispatcher's console. That's what we're looking at right here, is the schedule pane. You can see those color-coded squares, which we'll take a closer look at later, that show each individual inspector or installer or other kind of technician all their tasks throughout the day. Mobile field enablement. What that really means is allowing the field worker to use a mobile device, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a phone, to optimize their user experience for that form factor of that particular device so that they're in constant communication with the dispatchers, with the central folks who are managing all these resources. And then to keep track in terms of resource utilization of meeting your SLA, meeting the performance expectations of the customer. All these are new capabilities that are brought to CRM, but they dovetail with your existing CRM because you're still using CRM for tracking the organizations, the people, the contacts, what CRM calls accounts, the organizations that you're working with. In addition to those three areas that I mentioned, we also have capabilities for inventory management, asset management, warranties, service agreements. State and local government and federal agencies as well maintain fleets of vehicles that have to be maintained and special service equipment. Or you think of something like air traffic control and the equipment that's used at airfields around the United States. Microsoft also brings a business intelligence capability for analyzing and visualizing all the data that's being created in your field service installation. I'd like to just throw a few out there, a few public sector solutions. InfoStrat's very focused on public sector, and the way I like to look at it is that we take Microsoft solutions and we make them match the requirements of our public sector customers, whether it's federal, state, local, or education. We know that our customers have unique needs, they have unique regulatory requirements and compliance requirements, and Dynamics CRM and field service can help meet those compliance needs. One of the most obvious field service scenarios is field inspection. Health inspectors that visit restaurants or food production facilities, safety inspections, elevator inspections. There are hundreds of government inspection scenarios at the federal and the state and local level. Nuclear power plants, mine safety. Field inspectors have a tremendous workload. Often they're stretched thin, and if there are any ways that we can reduce the tedium of the workload or improve their efficiency, then there's tremendous benefit to our customers to do that. Asset management, tracking all the routine maintenance and service records for physical assets out there, whether it's fixing a traffic light or a related 311 scenario that many customers have for going out to fix something that's been reported by the public. One of InfoStrat's clients used CRM to track reports of problems at county parks and then send technicians out to go and fix them. There are a number of different service call scenarios for field service, but one of the less obvious ones is criminal investigations, gathering evidence, gathering photographs, keeping track of forensic information that relates to an investigation. We've also had the opportunity to work with government customers who do investigations for fraud or for criminal activity. And then the final one I listed here is disaster recovery. In the case of a natural disaster, you want to respond as quickly as possible and have as much information as you can at your fingertips. And unfortunately, every year we do encounter some natural disasters, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane or another storm. We had one here in Maryland in the last week, a flood in Ellicott City. Pierre, I know I've been monopolizing it here. I want to give you a chance to weigh in if you'd like to add some other ideas.
Yeah, anything that enables the mobile person, the workers out in the field, whether they're doing inspections or recently, one of the key customers that we acquired up in Canada was Red Cross doing home visits. So, you know, health and human services, there's so many aspects of you know, a mobile workforce that is out in the field that needs to kind of transition away from a traditional communication model, which really relies on email, sending emails out to everybody, go do this, here's a spreadsheet, fill it out, send it back to me, kind of a model, which is what so many of these organizations are doing. So today we're going to show you, you know, a way to streamline something like an inspection, how to get that electronically from one person that might be taking the call back into the hands of a person that will actually do the actual work, to, you know, a manager that's going to review all of that, and all using this framework. And so that's, you know, there's so many scenarios that come out of that, and it's not so much focusing on the specifics of, you know, this little, we can do this kind of field, and there's all these entities and the technology part. I think at this level, it's helpful just kind of look at the whole workflow aspect of what's going on in our, you know, public sector agencies and government agencies and NGOs that do this kind of work, where there's a lot of pushback from the people that we serve in these organizations in terms of the time that it takes to get things done, the accountability on what got done, and so this is what we hope we're enabling by these kind of technologies.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The most important thing is that user experience and enabling new ways to do business. I think that we've all seen one of the principal workflow engines be email and one of the principal databases be Excel. And I think that providing richer user experience can really make a difference for that. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on the PowerPoint here. There are a number of different agencies that use field service. I've just created some categories here. The names of the particular agencies vary a little bit depending on whether you're federal, state, or local. I mentioned at the outset scheduling. There's a great deal of complexity behind the scenes on scheduling because there are dependencies, there are limited resources. You have to factor in things like the time that it takes to get from one location to another. And the net result of all that is that there is a lot of opportunity to save money and to save time by automating the scheduling process. Field service can organize all of your resources and help you find what those resources are based on their skills, their geography, or even customer preferences that you're tracking in CRM. And you're going to see that the drag and drop scheduler lets a dispatcher move resources around and optimize them. It also uses optimized routes and skill-based assignments to help you balance that workload. So we'll take a look at this scheduling piece of the puzzle. And in many cases, agencies have been using separate standalone products to do just this piece of field service. The mobile enablement is very exciting, allowing you to store and forward information, to capture data, whether it's a signature of someone who's approving an activity in the field, or whether it's a photograph that you're capturing on your mobile device. Technicians have to be as productive as they can be when they're in the field. They have to gather as much information as they can with their limited time on site. So the idea of using that mobile device, using RFID readers, credit card readers, whatever tools that technician needs to get the job done while they're spending time on site. And then managing these assets using visualization, using business intelligence, to optimize the efficiency of this overall process, and also to easily gather all the metrics that you need to see how you're doing. So I'm going to be distributing these slides to the attendees, and I'm also going to provide a few more links to additional information and resources for learning more. So I'm not going to go through all these features list. You might find it helpful to review later on. I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights here. All of these capabilities are in CRM, and if you're a CRM online subscriber, believe it or not, this is already there in Office 365. You can actually go and install it. Field 1 made a big impact on the market and has a lot of customers that have pushed this capability to its limits. So although I'm talking about this as an exciting new product, it's a mature product, and it's a product that's been out there for a while, and I think Matt can also speak to that. It's new to Microsoft, though, and therefore I think that most Microsoft customers just aren't aware of it yet, which was our motivation for doing this event today. There are a lot of resources out there. This link will take you to the training page for field service, and that jumps off into related resources. I'm going to just turn it over to Pierre now and let him take over control here so that he can lead the demo segment.
All right. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate your time today, and everybody that took time to take some time this afternoon to listen to our story. And that's what we want to tell, is a little bit of a story about how this application can help enable the field organization, the field aspects of your organization. And specifically, we'll dive into using an inspection and kind of walking through how an inspection could look in this kind of organization. So in Dynamics CRM and Dynamics platform, there is several different areas for the application. Typically, we would start in the customer service aspect. A call will come in, or something from a portal, from a website would come in into the call center for the city or the county or the state or the agency that you're working with. In this example here, an employee is complaining about headaches and not feeling well, and so the building manager decides he maybe want to have a building inspector to come out and help troubleshoot a little bit about what they, maybe there's air quality issues inside of the building. And so that information is captured at a call or at a case level. The case has a life cycle. It goes through the process of listening to the customer or the constituent that we're working with, figuring out what we're going to do in terms of the next level of action. So often in most organizations, that is one department listening, and another department goes out and takes the action, or another group of folks go out and do the actual work of the inspection. So in this case, we would be our call center agent taking the call and making notes in there that we're discussing the details and making notes on who is calling in, and maybe some of the things that have happened with this organization in the past, maybe other cases or other issues that they've had. So we want to have that kind of life cycle view of our relationship with that individual or organization. From this location, or from this screen, a user will hit this little button right here called Convert to Work Order. Now, in our system, a work order represents just what it sounds. It's an order for work. It's somebody to go out and do something. So a work order contains a couple pieces of information. One, first, it contains a link back to the actual incident or case that got created, or that created this work order. And so if somebody was curious, they could read, through the history of that and see what led us to this point today. The work order also contains the customer or the location that we're actually going to go and do the work at, and the type of work that needs to be done, in this case a building air quality inspection. That air quality inspection takes about 3 hours to do, and so there's some settings inside of the system that help relate that information. So someone just, picks building quality inspection and it knows it takes 3 hours to do. It knows it because there are certain services and service tasks that need to be done. We need to review the consent and get consent to come out on site and make sure that we do that. That sometimes takes a little time to hunt down the person that can let us through the building and get us access to the appropriate places. We need to actually do the inspection. That's going to take a couple hours to do, and collect the actual signature. So these items that need to be done are part of a template that's established up front, that we know that when we do a building air quality inspection, these are the tasks that need to be done. That's set automatically, so when we convert this to the work order, when that person pushes that button, that work order just creates all of those things automatically through business processes in the background. Once a work order is set up, we now need to go through another process that has to happen of identifying the resources to do the actual work. And that is done through what we refer to, there's several different ways to schedule a resource. This example we'll have is called the Schedule Assistant. So if I push the Schedule Assistant button, I'll switch over to that tab as it loads. What the Schedule Assistant does is it knows how much work needs to be done. One of the things it also knows is who's qualified to do the work. Not only are there the tasks, but also qualities around what are the skills or competencies that are required. And so that from there, it offers me several different options in terms of I can negotiate with that customer when we want to start and when we want to end. How far do we want our person to drive to get there? So the system understands all of these things. It understands all of the people and what work orders they're currently working on and what is available. It also understands the geography of the work. So it understands where that work is and where the individuals that can perform those jobs are at. So there's a lot of information that has to come for it to be able to search the resources, find the right person, and to be able to say, yep, I'm going to schedule this for this person, and we're going to go ahead and schedule that for this, let's do it this afternoon or this evening. So I'm going to schedule this and go from there. So if I schedule and close this work order now will be assigned to an individual. Now, so if you can imagine, we're switching over the context to a person, the technician that's coming out to actually do the work, or the field agent or the engineer. Everybody has a little different name for that person that comes out. So in here it's the building inspector. So the building inspector is going to get notified, that this work has been assigned to them. So a work order has been set. As you can see, this work order now, an email comes out, and I'm going to move over to my mobile device, and we can see that a notification is coming out to me on my mobile that, hey, guess what? You just got a work order. So I'm going to move over to this mobile device and talk about our mobile experience for this. So this is on my phone, and so my phone is telling me, hey, here's the start time of your work order, and of course this is all done through a template and a workflow, and you can establish what you want to have on this kind of message. But this is just one example of these kind of messages that come to the person. On the mobile device, the user has what we refer to as a mobile application. So we have a mobile app that runs on Windows, it runs on iOS, it runs on Android. And this application has a a local database, and it's all encrypted and uses all sorts of fancy security to make sure that the local data is just that, secure and local, specific to this particular user. And so for this particular user, if we look at their schedule, we can see that there's different things that have been scheduled, and again, depending on the permissions that this individual has, we can see this. We see everybody's schedule here. I just want to see my my field service schedule. So look at that. So we can look at all the different. There we go. So for the day, here is my appointments that are scheduled. So this one here, if I just open it up, so the system is scheduled this appointment for me now. And I've been notified that this needs to be done. I can first look and review on the map of where the work needs to be done. And so it brings context to this. And you can see up on the right-hand side over here in this area, you can see that there's a little map icon. So the system will use its local mapping application. If I'm on a Android device, it'll use Google Map or Waze, and Apple will use, Apple Maps to help me understand where this work needs to be done and to route me to that particular location. I can also relay the my status. So now I can say, I'm going to confirm that I'm actually going to go ahead and do this actual work. And from here, all of the information is here. So here's all the tasks, as we mentioned, for this particular work order. Here are the different tasks that I need to do. I need to receive consent. So that'll be the first thing that I want to do. Do I have this consent? There's a designated person that's got to be identified to do this. And so I can go ahead and say, yep, I've completed that particular task. I found the person that is going to do the work that's going to allow me access to the building. So now I want to actually do the actual building inspection. So I'm going to click the Add Building Inspection here. And as I talk to the person, we want to do building inspection for, let's say it's building number 17. So I'm going to just save that as we go. And it has a status, as you can see, the questions. This is, I just picked up some general questions, but here was the building manager present, so did I have this person present while I was doing a inspection? We know that a lot of times inspections have two purposes. One of them is to actually find out the analytical data and help inform decisions later on things that could be a problem. But also sometimes it's an educational opportunity for us to talk to somebody that manages the building and inform them these are the things you need to be looking for that you may be not aware of. So as we go through this, did we ensure that the ventilation units operate properly? Sure, we looked at all of those. And we can go through a list of different questions that may be added to this. We can add additional comments, though. And so I'm going to make a comment here. I'm going to use my speech to text. Depending on the device, this device has a speech to text, and so we can enter notes in using our mobile. The parking area has several cars whose exhaust may be causing air quality issues. So we'll add this into this also. From here, there's some other things that we can also do with this. This has the ability to, as we were saying, capture notes. So we maybe have additional pieces of information. We want to go around and make notes around additional problems that we see as they happen. And also the camera icon, as you can see there, allows me to take pictures on my mobile device. All of this information, as it is working on the mobile device here, is all reflected back inside of the CRM system. So the statuses and information come back into CRM as things happen. So in Dynamics, as the work order goes through its life cycle individually, one is able to go through and see all of my resources and the statuses of all the different work that's being done at the time. So this information comes back in real time. So for example here, green means the work orders are completed. Blue means the work order is in progress. Here the line that we have above here, this little teal line, indicates this is the travel time that happened. So as all this information comes back through the system, the work order pulls all of that information and allows us to do any sort of analytics and understand what is going on in this order. So if I go, for example, that building inspection, that direct building inspection that we did, we can see all this information that came in, any sort of notes that we may have. All of this becomes part of, if I open my, open up, there's my car that's causing all the problems that's sitting out there by adding toxic gases to the building. But all of this inspection information comes back into the system with any notes that were added or anything on this order. Now, inside of Dynamics CRM as a platform, what the application does is this building inspection that's related by a particular person that was connected to a particular work order has a status itself. It's open or closed. It can be completed. We can add this to convert this to another case that may be required, etc. So all of this basically allows us to roll this information up into dashboards and understand the completed work. So each one of these individual air inspections have different. So if I'm the manager looking at the inspections themselves, and I want to understand what is happening with inspections, what is the trend over time, where are we getting these from, what's the geographic distribution of these, the kind of analytical information that's core inside of the Dynamics platform is able to just pull that entity data in on the fly. And so you kind of are able to kind of complete this system without that mobile worker having to fill out the spreadsheet and email it into somebody or something on this order, because I just fill the form out on my mobile. It's in real time added to the data collection. So what we're looking at is real-time data as the data changes in the field.
Wow, Pierre, that looks really awesome.
Could you show us that, just a little demonstration of how you have the maps and some of the items drawn directly onto the map? Just wanted to see that feature again.
Thanks.
And is that something that's available just using configuration, or does that have to be customized code?
So so we're talking here about maps in this aspect here. So
yes.
Yeah, so there's several different areas where mapping shows up. First is, let's just talk about the core concept of a map, right? So this map here, for example, is just a standard control inside or object on the form. And it knows the address, because there's an address section on the form here. So it's just picking this up, and it knows the latitude and longitude. So part of the process that Microsoft has, we have this Bing mapping service, and during the process of getting data into the system, it goes out and geolocates addresses. That's one of the things that kind of works in the background and makes sure that all of the things that we want to have, zip codes and postal codes, are great, but in mapping we really want this piece of information right here. We want that latitude and longitude. And so there's a service that Bing has, and it's just free and it's integrated into the system, that goes out and finds that location. And so when you plunk a map on the form, and again, this is in the out-of-the-box process, you plunk a map on the form and it finds the latitude and longitude and displays it on the form. Now, when we go over it, so each one of the work orders themselves now has a location then. And so that's how the system on these schedule boards and We also have another board we just called the, well, the schedule board, really. Will show us several different map views of the world. One is where all of my work orders are located. So it's just, again, using that Bing Maps environment and you know, showing me here's all the work orders that are in this environment. And some of them are scheduled and some of them are unscheduled. It also knows the location of the people. And again, each one of the resources themselves, there's a process. The mobile devices report back where I'm at. So as the GPS system on my mobile device syncs back, it also then relays where that person is in this environment. So that's so those are standard controls within the environment, and there's no programming required to do that basic work. While you're looking at that, I will also mention mapping on the mobile device, because that's an important process also. On the mobile device, when we're looking at this local device, one of the real pieces of, let's say, magic in this whole thing that solves a big problem is the challenge of managing a bring your own device world for people, or managing just a lot of different operating systems on devices. We have a mix of Android and Windows Mobile, and Apple are the three primary mobile platforms that are being used. And so one of the challenges of building an app like this is, you know, I need to be able to kind of configure this inside of the CRM application platform and then have it automatically come out and figure out on the mobile device and leverage the resources of the mobile device. So mapping is one of those examples of that. So the application has this mashed up experience where it's getting, for example, the GPS location of this is where I'm located at. That comes from the piece of hardware that's in my hand, but it's getting this geographic data around the where are the customers located. So this is where accounts that have work orders that I'm assigned to are. So I can just pick, you know, that building quality inspection, hit the little I here, and it will let me just basically drive to this work order itself. So as I go through that work order, as you see, this little button here on the right then pulls up the mobile applications, or the mobile piece of hardware's own mapping software. So it knows where I'm at, and of course now it knows where the customer is, and it's going to figure out how to get from Grand Rapids to Seattle. And so, you know, I can tell the customer, I'll be there in 37.4 hours if I don't stop for the get gas, you know.
Wow.
But it's that kind of mashed up model, and this is all just out of the box experiences. And a lot of the times we may have dispatching that happens on the fly, and a lot of organizations actually do this, where, you know, I showed you picking a schedule and showing the routes and all of that kind of stuff. But some organizations have a guy or a gal or a crew that basically looks at the map and says, I will do that. Let me take this work order, you know, because they know where they're at, and it's just a transitional model for a lot of organizations. So all of that, again, is something that would be on the mobile device, and the behavior of this application is the same. You know, it works the same way if I'm on a Windows device that it works on. You know, if I'm on a tablet, it has a little, you know, different orientation. The system knows what it's doing. I know we're not technologists on this phone, but I know we've probably all heard of this because it was big in the news a couple of months ago about this technology called Xamarin. And that's what this Xamarin is, where you write this application one time, but you can deploy it across different mobile platforms. And that's what Xamarin is. And this is a showcase app actually for Xamarin, where it's I configure it in CRM, I don't have to write any code for that, and it just gets pushed out to the mobile devices. So
That's really interesting. Hey, Nazim, I've got Nazim's question, Pierre.
Sure.
Looks great. Are we able to use F1 for emergency services, specifically for ambulance dispatch and coordination? And I also unmuted Nazim in case he wants to follow up. So do you understand the question, Pierre?
So, on a question like that, anytime we're involved with emergency services, we certainly would like to look at the specifics in terms of the details. Some organizations want to have a lot of telemetry information around the ambulances and specifically where they're routed to currently. And also additional metadata about the ambulances in terms of their capabilities and how many people are in there, and matching that up with the call as it comes in. So fundamentally, all of those are part of our solution. So it could be a very good fit. Some exploration would be needed.
Okay. So you're saying if you wanted to use this for more of a 911 scenario, you'd want to take a closer look at the requirements and understand what all the moving parts are, because there certainly are some other moving parts that we haven't talked about that are definitely not out of the box.
Right.
You know what, I had read the question and interpreted it a different way, which is to allow a field inspector to call for emergency services while they're out there, which I think you could customize it to do that.
Yeah, so actually one of the things that is core to this environment is just a very simple, on a work order, I'm able to create another work order on the fly. And that's what's right here, this little work order follow-up, and I can make a follow-up. And what that does, as soon as I hit save in here, and this is just fundamental. As soon as I save this, work order, what will occur is it will create another work order in the system. The workflow engine generates yet another work order that would show up in the unassigned and unscheduled. And so a workflow would need to take over to understand that type of field and what specifically the work order type that it needs to be and all of that. So yeah, theoretically, absolutely something that can be done.
Well, let me see if Nazim wanted to follow up on that. Okay. Nazim, I do have you unmuted if you want to say anything, but I got your message that said that we did answer the question.
Excellent. Excellent. I know there's a lot of excitement, might not be the right term for this, but for this feature, but there's kind of a 911 app that a lot of organizations are looking to put together as part of different application experiences for mobile workers. So if I'm a case manager doing a healthcare visit and something happens right there, instead of dialing 911, they would like to have an application part of their application that they effectively, like I showed with the follow-up, like a 911 button inside of the app that then relays way more information than a phone call, because I'm working with this person right now. I don't want to talk to somebody. I just want a call dispatched to an emergency response with all the details of this is where I'm at, here's the situation, this is the work order that I'm working on, the case information, and they can quickly move on to take care of business as it is right then. But in the background, stuff is happening. So from a security standpoint, I know a lot of folks that are looking to have those types of experiences inside of these applications.
Absolutely. Well, let me just react to some of this, and we're certainly We're certainly open to more questions. I think what's really exciting to me is I am a Microsoft Dynamics person. And these things that you've shown me, they seem to be things that I could use my same skills and knowledge from Dynamics if I wanted to customize it or extend it. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. So the application, as you said early on, is a core application inside of Dynamics CRM. So it's a standard entities inside of the Dynamics platform. So it's not a third-party add-on, so to speak, to the system. So it's core within the application. The administration of the system all is inside of Dynamics. So setting up all of the different pieces that we talked about, all the resources and their schedules and all that kind of stuff is all contained within the platform. Even the mobile configuration is also within the platform application. So if I go over to the mobile application platform, I can launch that and I can get into doing my mobile application development work. So.
Well, and then you mentioning Xamarin, that's music to my ears as well. I do want to just say a few words. I want to thank everybody for coming out this afternoon. My customers, my partners from integrators, and of course from Microsoft. I want to thank you for spending all this time with us, Pierre, to give this demo, and Matt for encouraging and for participating this event. I just want to say that what's worked the best for us to help customers understand whether this is a good fit for them is really to do a demonstration and to take a closer look at their scenarios. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about just how much Microsoft is providing out of the box. That's why I said at the beginning of this webinar that I think this is one of the best examples in the world of an XRM demo, where you're building on top of a well fleshed out, mature solution for what I have to say is a very low price compared to the alternatives.
Yep, we would concur. The cost savings in mobile app development is substantial, and a lot of organizations are looking to deliver these types of experiences to their workers and to mobile folks and to their customers, but don't want to become application development shops and now start supporting Android and Apple apps. That's just not a skill set that a lot of organizations want to do.
Well, and I think sometimes people have an appetite for it initially, but then they lose their appetite for it because there is really a constant challenge to stay up to date and comply with all the rules from the app stores. And so with Microsoft doing that for us, that's a tremendous service. There are constantly new versions coming out of Dynamics and Android Play Store, Apple App Store. Microsoft is riding herd on all of that and making sure that all the pieces work together with field service.
Yeah, the core application, Microsoft Field Service application, is in all of those app stores. So you can go to Apple, put it on your iPad. You can go to the Android App Store and look up Field Service, Microsoft Field Service, and it's right there.
So I wanted to offer, we've only got about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to throw some ideas out about next steps. So I would be delighted to meet with anyone that would like to go into more detail, set up tailored demonstrations. And I think another thing that is a next step is, believe it or not, if you're on Office 365 with Dynamics CRM, field service is there. When you go into your administrative view here for Office 365, Under CRM, there's a list of solutions, and when you got upgraded this spring, field service appeared on that list. And you can, this is literally how you get access to the solution. Pierre, did you want to elaborate on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, totally. That is, you know, I'm with you, Jim. This has been a long journey for somebody like myself and yourself. I've been working on Dynamics CRM since version 1, and so the energy and effort that we used to have to go through to put something like this in place was, you know, substantial. And today it's just, it blows me away that it's just a, you know, a solution that gets added, and, you know, from there it's configuration. And what is so exciting about that, as more of a business analyst person, it lets us talk more about experiences for the users and spend our energy and effort around figuring out what's the best way to work, as opposed to being having so much of our budget and time and energy around the technology platform. And it's when stuff like this is more like an appliance, you know, it just kind of works like it should, and how we expect it to work. That's very exciting, because it lets us really get to the heart of the matter, so to speak, which is very little to do with the technology, and which enables all this cool stuff to happen, but enables our teams and our staff and our workers to really hone in on making fantastic experiences for their constituents and for the customers that they serve out in the field. And that's what we're so excited about when it comes to this kind of thing. There's an end to the means. It's not like, oh, it's great from the technology standpoint. That's awesome. That just enables us to, you know, have an awesome experience when we talk about engineering customer experiences. That's exciting.
Well, and I also want to just point out that for government agencies, this all these things we've been talking about, they all are in the context of the Microsoft Cloud. So these cloud benefits that you've been exploring, the Microsoft Government Cloud offers quite a bit of security, certifications, and compliance. It's all part of this broader strategy on the part of Microsoft to make a rich set of solutions available for solving these complex business problems. I just want to thank Pierre and Matt, and I want to thank all the attendees who joined us. Please feel free to follow up with me, Jim T. at InfoStrat.com, or with Pierre, and follow us on Twitter. Read my blog, blogs.infostrat.com, and let us know how we can help you evaluate field service. Pierre, I'll give you the final word.
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. And we really appreciate the fine work that InfoStrat's done over the years, and your guys' continued efforts to, you know, bring these, you know, cutting-edge solutions to, you know, the folks that are really out there working so hard to make a difference as they serve, you know, constituents and our citizens. You know, I couldn't think of a better, more noble cause in today's world to be working with these great folks that are so committed to serving us as citizens, and really appreciate that help.